Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to my channel. My name is Laura and today we are drinking coffee because it has just been one of those times. I got married a few weeks ago. Since then, it has still been pretty full on. We have been trying to clear the wedding stuff we no longer need out of the house. Just trying to do what we can to get our lives back under control. I have been feeling like I want to declutter things and I don't feel like I've been able to. And what I realized through that was that there are valid reasons why we are struggling to declutter. And when I say valid, I mean this isn't a thing that necessarily needs to be fixed right now. These may be totally okay reasons why you are struggling to declutter. And that is what I wanted to talk about today, because I feel like sometimes sharing can help you to just have a bit more grace and just show yourself a bit more kindness, to just let certain things go. So let's talk about 8 or 9, I haven't quite decided yet, we'll see how the video goes, 8 or 9 reasons that are totally okay as to why you may be struggling to declutter right now. Let's get into it. Number 1, you have certain things going on in your life that unfortunately require certain items. For me, this was my last job where I was going on to work sites that required specific PPE or personal protective equipment. And because I'd be going from my house, I had to keep it at my house. I couldn't keep it at an office. So I had safety boots. I also had a hard hat. I also had a high-vis vest. And I also had safety glasses. Obviously, these aren't actually those items because I've now been able to get rid of them. But this is some of the stuff that would annoy me so much, because also I would keep it at the door so that I could easily grab it when I needed to go out. So our very tiny entranceway, which is basically non-existent, was just full of the stuff that I didn't really like or want, but I had to have in my life. So when it comes to those items that you require due to certain things that you're doing, you kind of just have to let those be as they are and know that it is necessary. It might not be enjoyable, but it's okay to feel a bit annoyed about these items, but just let it be. Number 2 is that a time in your life made you need a kind of thing that you no longer want. For me, this is shoes. So when I was going to these work sites, I could wear nice shoes in the offices there, but they had to be quite sensible. They had to be closed toe. So I have 1, 2, almost an identical shape, 3 with no heel, and I had gotten rid of a few of these recently. But I had to have this type of shoe for when I was going into work, but I don't really want them necessarily anymore, but they still have wear in them, so I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to be getting rid of them and buying more shoes when they work with my outfits. They're fine for wearing to work. I don't necessarily want them. I wouldn't necessarily choose them again, but this is what I have for now. So again, live with them for now, but replace more as I would want to in the future. All right, number 3. So sometimes we can be busy where we are dealing with things at work, dealing with things at home, we're trying to get into a new exercise routine, and then we open that drawer that has like an old relative's items in it. And that can be a moment for me where I go, I may have unresolved issues with these items, but I do not have the capacity to deal with them right now. For me, that has been something that might end up happening over a few years, and it is good to be honest with yourself about am I actually just putting this off? Is now the moment to deal with things? But sometimes it is that genuinely there's too much going on. The benefit of getting rid of those items, dealing with it, working through it and deciding what to keep, what to give to someone else, etc., can just be too much. So it may be that you just have unresolved issues with things that can't be dealt with right now, and it's okay to show yourself a bit of compassion, put them in a box for now, come back around to them when maybe you've got a bit more capacity in your life to deal with them. All right, number 4 kind of extends on from this, but it is different. So if you are dealing with some deep issues in your life, which I may or may not have been in the last couple of years. Anyway, it can leave you feeling extremely drained, extremely exhausted. It doesn't give you much brain space on top of dealing with those issues, going to work, seeing your partner, looking after your dog, everything else in your life. So trying to add to your activities, decluttering things on top of that can just be too much. You need to make room. You have to take things off your plates that you have the capacity to not get burnt out just because of all of that emotional and mental work that you are doing, and it also takes a physical toll as well. So if you are busy dealing with some big stuff and anything to do with decluttering and reorganizing feels like too much for you, that is okay. It's okay to not push yourself to do even more things than just the basic necessities when you have something major going on in your life. So give yourself permission to let go. Number 5, this is a fun one. You may be struggling to declutter if you are renovating. Oh yeah, we're talking about that one. This is not to say that if you have like 30 different test pots of paint that are floating around, you shouldn't just maybe bin those. That's okay. But what I am saying is that if you're sitting there and you're like, I have this sandpaper and these brushes and these rollers and the sticks for the rollers to go on and all of this house paint and everything else, and I hate seeing it every day, but you are renovating your house and adding value to it for a really good purpose, you're just gonna have to put up with that stuff, right? And it may be that there is value in going through it, and maybe there is some stuff that you can get rid of, but the majority of it, if you are doing a full renovation like we are, you are probably going to need. And so it can be a bit of a draining exercise to unpack all of that stuff, go through it, and then put 95% of it back. So in that instance, it may be worthwhile just finding a way to go, it is what it is there, it is a time and a place that we are in right now where we are doing these renovations. It will be done at some stage, and at that point, then we can properly deal with that, get rid of the stuff we don't need, and then it will be a lot tidier and a lot less annoying, right? Number 6. Okay, so I like to use, when I'm decluttering, this idea of maybe piles or maybe boxes, and I feel that that allows me to have a lot less in the yes, because I'm not getting rid of it straight away, but I am being honest with myself that maybe I do not need this, and I'm gonna see if I end up reaching for it, going looking for it, etc. However, if you live in a small house like we do, our house is 68 square meters, which Google tells me is 732 square feet, so quite small. It doesn't leave you with a lot of room for like maybe piles or maybe boxes or maybe spaces. And that can definitely be a barrier. I'm able to do this with clothes where I can kind of make a box and I can find a space to put that. But for example, when it comes to kitchen stuff, I've really struggled to have enough room to even put something as a maybe. Like it's either in the kitchen in its spot or it's going. There is no maybe spot, which then means that if I'm not really sure that I want to get rid of it, it's staying. And I can kind of find that process a bit frustrating, where when I don't have room to kind of work with stuff and go through those techniques and processes, because it does generally require just a bit of extra space, yeah, it inhibits me. So I'd like to find different ways to deal with that, but that's definitely a valid reason as to why you can be struggling to go through that decluttering process. Number 7. This is something that I'm experiencing with my clothes, with my wardrobe at the moment. This is where something has changed within you or changed for you, but you can't afford to act on it yet. For me, this has been switching jobs. I'm no longer having to feel like I'm fitting into a certain type of dress or a certain type of person. And I feel that I can be a bit more adventurous with what I'm wearing. However, I still have a lot of these like white shirts and plain-ish trousers, and some of these are fairly new. They still have a lot of wear in them. And to be honest, I can't afford to just go buy a new, more like vibrant, fun, feminine, interesting wardrobe. And if we maybe take a bit of Marie Kondo, like what sparks joy, it's not a huge amount of it that sparks joy. However, I still get wear out of it because if I'm going into the office 5 days a week, I still need a variety of outfits to wear, and I'm having to hold myself back a bit and go, I am still getting use out of this. It is still adding value, even if I would prefer something different. So for now, this stays, but I know that I will aim to replace this with something that feels more authentic in the future. Number 8, which I don't think is talked about as much as it should be, is when you are not in the right frame of mind and you just want to throw out all of your things because you feel like it'll magically fix everything. This is a state where I feel like some of us, particularly the anxious types, I would say, can get to a point where it feels like things aren't working, things aren't good, and then something pops into your head and goes, there's just too much stuff in my life. If I just get rid of most of this, everything's gonna be great. And it's actually not a good idea because it's not coming from a right place. It's not coming from a place of thinking things through and knowing logically what this is going to do for you. It's coming from a place of desperation, really. So when we are decluttering in desperation, for me, I feel like that's not a super sensible thing. And if you are either going to not declutter or declutter in desperation and hope that that's going to be the magic bullet that's going to fix it all, we should probably hold ourselves back. That's just my 2 cents. I would and have before now just held myself back and gone, let's just think about this a bit more. I'm sure that there's something else that we can find that's going to make things feel a bit easier and a bit better, that isn't just throwing everything. Yeah. Alrighty, there is a number 9. Number 9 is you may be struggling to declutter because you just don't want to, because it's not a priority right now, because you've got other stuff going on in your life. And it's not that it's like bad things going on in your life. You may be like, oh, I kind of want to declutter maybe, I think, but actually I want to rearrange my kitchen stuff and go for a run most days this week. And I want to go to these parks that I haven't been to for ages with my dog. And I want to see my friends, and I want to do this hobby that I haven't done for a while. And all this other stuff that is bringing value to your life and making things more enjoyable and making you feel happier. And then if there's that voice coming in and saying, oh, but maybe we should declutter some things because we were thinking about that for like 2 minutes last week. If it's not a priority for you right now, and that's why you're struggling to do it, that is totally okay, because decluttering isn't some like virtuous thing that you need to do every day to be good or to be a good person, or you need to do every week to feel like you've got your life together. It's a tool to add value and to bring more peace into your life. And if you just don't feel like it's going to do that for you right now, don't do it. Go for a run, go walk your dog, go do your hobby, go bake some muffins. Oh, I should totally make some muffins. Yes, all right, you've convinced me, you've twisted my arm. I'm gonna make I'm gonna make muffins. It's gonna happen. Awesome. Okay, cool. I'm so glad I filmed this video. Yes. So yeah, if you're just not feeling it and it's not going to add value, don't do it. Simple as that. Alrighty, that is it for today. Short and snappy. 9 reasons you may be struggling to declutter right now that are totally okay. So thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button down below. I am aiming to, not quite making it, but aiming to put out weekly content on minimalism, lifestyle, and mental health. So if that sounds like a bit of you, please pop a comment down below as to what beverage you were drinking during this video. And other than that, I will see you guys next week. Take care.